You are listening to This Week in Clown World with Ben and Hobbs, so sit back, relax, take your black pill, and enjoy the show.
Salam alaikum, buttholes. It's time once again for another episode of This Week in Clown World with Ben and Hobbs. I'm Hobbs, he's Ben, and this is the newest addition to the Roads to Liberty family. This is little Ava Renee, aka Peanut. Everybody say hi. She was born last Monday. She's,
Yeah, we missed the show because Hobbs can't seem to stop replicating for some reason.
yes. What can I say? I figured the world needed more of me.
Yeah, and we were talking about what we were going to lead with. I don't know. I read a lot of history and listen to podcasts, and it seems like these historians, they're just looking for any little thing they can read about the ancient era, even the bullshit things that anybody writes down on a parchment. I just envision some historian 400 years from now going through all the podcasts of this era, and they have us, and each week we just get more downtrodden because a clown, they have like a collage of us and just our give a shit. Just, it seems like the dummies are winning.
Yeah, it really does. It's easy to get blackpilled, and I'm sure that a time-lapse photo of our faces, the bags under our eyes get deeper and deeper, and the wrinkles on our foreheads, and just the scowling looks and everything of just how terrible everything is. But,
somebody living on Alpha Centauri going over the history of Earth, and just it just feels like the dummies won. What did I see today? So now, for the longest time they were saying men shouldn't have an opinion on abortion, but now I guess men have abortions and get pregnant. So we do have an opinion now.
yeah, it's hard to keep track, and it really does lend a lot of weight to the argument that a lot of these people will just have a hive mind because they can just seamlessly transition from one contradictory point of view to another. They're the ideal citizens of Orwell's 84 because they're perfectly capable of engaging in doublethink without any cognitive dissonance at all.
I want to know what the process is for all of them to get on the same page, though. Is it Twitter? Is Twitter where guy is pushing out the programming to all the NPCs, or what's doing it? I don't even understand that they can be so on point with everybody from one day, or is Elon right? And there's just so many bots. Is half the internet bots at this point?
It sure is looking like it, but I'm gonna throw out my tinfoil hat theory
Uh-oh.
of the night here. It's the 5G. That's that's the software update.
It's secretly programming people's brains.
Yes. It's the people who don't have an internal monologue of they've got the receiver in their brain, and it's just like, okay, men can have an opinion, but only if they're trans men. Bloop, 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 bloop.
What was that 4chan post that showed up today about the Google AI employee working on the AI stuff? Did you see that?
Yeah, I posted it actually. Let me drag it up here real quick. It's a post allegedly by a Google employee. He
on
says
4chan, so
on
take
4chan,
that with a grain of salt.
yeah, but it says hello everyone, this is my first time posting on 4chan, but I need to get this out and I need to stay anonymous. I work for Google. I'm not going to name the internal tech department for obvious reasons. I don't want anyone to pinpoint who I am, but I'm in tech and I work with AI. I'll explain. My team and I created AI bots for Twitter. These bots are slightly different than regular AI bots. These are remote signal bots, but I'll explain what they do. My team and a human intelligence team, which is really just a propaganda team, work together to make certain topics trend and persuade public opinion, which persuades political pressure. We do this by a groupthink method. We have a name for it internally, but consensus cracking is a more used name externally. But the bots we created go into Twitter conversations and push a narrative. Some of the bots are verified accounts, and they start by arguing a point of view against someone, and then more bots join in and thumbs up the comment. We are doing it with gun control now. More people see a consensus of gun control, and people on the fence get persuaded to our narrative, and politicians get pressured by thinking it's actual people. We had whole meetings about 4chan because you guys, specifically this board, and that's doesn't say which board it is, but specifically this board, are disrupting the bots. You're basically doing what we are doing, but you are real people. We, not necessarily me, devised a plan to knock you guys from Twitter. We accused Russia of doing what we are doing and used the narrative to wipe out suspected bots, which we knew weren't bots at all. I feel like shit about this. Here's the thing. I'm actually a Democrat and I hate guns, but I believe in the balance of the people more than anything. We are using software as a political tool instead of the will of the people. This is also a violation of the SEC. We are fabricating Twitter users and using them for stocks and advertisers. I signed that I wouldn't discuss this, so I need to stay anonymous.
I mean, why? It seems perfectly probable.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially when they say they use it to push stocks. I mean, follow the money. There's the money right there.
Yeah.
Have a bunch of talking about the latest hot crypto or something or hot stock, and then everybody dumps it because all these Twitter bots talked it up.
Yep. He's mostly concerned, or he or she, whoever it is mostly concerned with the political ramifications of it, the ability to have politicians who are terminally online these days, and they think Twitter is an actual real life place, and they see a consensus forming on one political position or another, and then they pass legislation of it. So that's what he's concerned with. But yeah, you're right. This is stock market, money manipulation, currency trading, international trade, precious metals futures, commodities future, food, grain. You could manipulate entire populations to engage in criminal activity, genocide, even. The possibilities of this type of technology is virtually limitless.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that's kind of making sure that it doesn't go too far is people like that, and two, sometimes they get a little carried away and it becomes too obvious.
Well, and that brings me back around to this Elon Musk thing and the bots. He did some of his own research, and he believes that their 5% of users are bots was way off.
Yeah.
So now, do you think this? And that got me thinking. Maybe this whole Twitter thing was. I mean, surely Elon realized that before he would try and buy a company. He's not an idiot.
Right.
So this whole thing might have just been a ploy for him to blow the cover on all the bots on Twitter, is what I'm thinking at this point.
Right. He put in that initial offering that was well above market value. And then he goes in there, and now he's playing this Muhammad Ali style rope-a-dope, where he's stringing out the negotiations, where he's going to end up paying a lot less and exposing the people in the Twitter headshed for the shiesty bastards that they are.
Yeah, they've already started firing people, haven't they?
Yeah, they're either firing people, laying people off, they're dumping code, they're doing all sorts of stuff to try and try and keep what it seems like Elon is doing, to keep it from happening, or at least as being as bad as they suspect it's going to be. And yeah, Just Jared over here says the long con troll job. Yeah, that's what Elon's doing. He's doing a multi-billion-dollar shit post, and he's bringing Twitter to its knees. And honestly, if it wasn't just about the money, I honestly think that the money's immaterial to him. I really think that bringing the gargantuan leviathan of Twitter to its knees and exposing the degree of manipulation that they have over public perception, to him is its own reward.
Yeah, and that just goes to show, during the whole which election, the 2016 election, they were saying that all the manipulation on Twitter by bots, well, it probably was bots, but it was probably, the progressives were pushing Trump because they thought he'd be a shoe-in to lose to Hillary.
Yeah. There was that memorandum from I think it was one of the John Podesta emails, where he was emailing not CEOs of newsrooms, but editors and other influential people. They're like, anytime Trump says anything, push it, get him to the front, because he's going to be the Pied Piper candidate. He'll be the easy one to beat, because these East and West Coast progressives are in their echo chamber. They didn't realize that the populist message resonated with people. So it must have come as quite a nasty shock when it did.
Well, in this next election, it's going to be interesting to see what the cheat will be. You had the cheat with the social media the first time. Then, it's coming out about the I hate that, maybe Trump supporters looked a little bit right about stop the steal. That 2,000 mules thing came out. Yep. I commented when it happened, all right, so the Democrats cheated that way and won. That's a new rule of the game.
Right.
So either figure out how to stop it or do it yourself. So I'm curious what the cheat's going to be in this next election. Because the social media cheat's been figured out. The ballot issue has been blown open now. So either the Republicans are going to do the same thing with ballots, and we're going to end up with more ballots than there are possible voters in this next election, which would be funny. That would blow it wide open. Or they're just going to have to figure out another way to do it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, but yeah, it's like you said, when they kind of overplay their hand, and it gets so obvious that they're like, okay, well, we can't do this trick a second time, because it's a little too on the nose. So it will be interesting to see how.
And the GOP kind of they use some redistricting magic for this next election. I noticed, if you looked at all the way the states, because GOP controls most of the state legislatures and governorships. So they went the route of busting up a lot of the districts. So that's going to be a major play in this next election. So
gerrymandering is
always
been a weapon that both sides have used, but it's gerrymandering is a greasy, stupid thing, but
that's always been done. That's since 19th century they've been doing that.
Right.
The recent stuff with the social media bots, I guess I'll give the Democrats this. They're more innovative in their cheating than the GOP is.
Right. When the GOP tries to game the system, they at least try to work within the system. Like I said, gerrymandering is completely legal. It's greasy and it stinks to high heaven, but it's legal. Hiring people to go out and fill in ballots that were sent unsolicited to nursing homes, and then stuff them by the dozens into ballot boxes around a swing state's major metropolitan area. That's not within the system. That's fully illegal. That's fraud. And it's neither one is good. But if I had to abide one or the other, I would at least go with the one that works within the system that we're in right now, rather than just be like, yeah, you know what, I'm just going to do whatever I want.
Well, and they're setting the precedent for more down the road, like the deal with the Supreme Court justice protesting. The Dems have set the precedent. You could protest out a Supreme Court justice house, I guess, and nothing will happen. So next time some conservative issue comes up to the Supreme Court, and it might not always be a conservative balance. I mean, so say gun control comes up again. So now we're going to have people open carrying, protesting outside of a Supreme Court justice house, and that's going to be perfectly okay, right?
Well, no. I watched a video earlier today about something called repressive tolerance, which is it's an idea that goes back, quite a long ways, where the people like the progressive left. This is an inherently left wing political theory or whatever. It goes back to like the old days around the French Revolution and whatnot. But the idea of the left is that tolerance only goes one way. And when you get into power, or from speaking from their point of view, when we get into power, it's our job that everything goes until we get into power, and then once we get into power, we have to shut down the other side's ability to speak, to basically do anything. And it's something it's blatantly obvious these days. You have well, it's like just like we were talking about the ballot harvesting thing. It's illegal. The gerrymandering thing is slimy, but it's legal. You have the January 6th thing. It's trespassing. It's illegal, but it's being treated as if it was an actual legitimate coup against the United States government. You have the protests taking place outside of the Supreme Court Justice's house, which is it's a felony, and it could be argued that it's akin to terrorism because you're using the threat of violence to push a political objective. And it is an implied threat. Do what we want, or we will burn your house down. We will kill you and your family. And that is what's going on. It's okay when we do it. It's not okay when you do it. Or it's not okay when you do something that is of an even lesser degree, because we have the Fifth Estate in our back pocket, and they will make what you did seem like the end of the world, and they will apologize for what we did and make it seem like it's a non-issue.
Yeah, I don't even know where. I mean, to stop it, I mean, they'd have to start arresting those people, but I don't see that happening. I don't know. It's just the left has just become so freaking weird at this point.
Yeah.
I can't even relate to him hardly.
Right, and it's in a lot of ways it's the same thing, going back to the January 6th thing versus the metropolitan riots that took place during the Black Lives Matter thing. You've got, on one hand, you've got people that are literally burning down one of America's largest cities in Portland, Seattle, the Chaz, remember that? And when Trump said, I'm going to send in the National Guard, I'm going to send in the U.S. Marshals, I'm going to send in some type of federal asset to get this thing under control, because the state and local governments are refusing to do so. They cried, fascism. They cried brown shirts. They did, all their stupid little word games that they played, and then the federal government backed off. Meanwhile, you have January 6th, unauthorized self-guided tour of the Capitol building, and they sent in the federal assets all over the country using geolocation technology to find the people who were at the Capitol building that day, sent in the U.S. Marshals, rounded these people up, and the left cheered for it.
They're still prosecuting them.
Yeah. Yeah, there's still people in solitary confinement right now in Washington, D.C. jail.
And my opinion on that is you can't half-ass something like that. I've said it before. I don't know what their goals were, or if they didn't even have any goals. But if you're going to go with something like that, you got to go big or go home.
Right, and that was my argument from day one. I said it's not an insurrection, it's not a coup, it's not an attempted overthrow of the U.S. government, because conservative Republican Trump supporters are probably hands down the most heavily armed demographic on planet Earth, and they brought nothing to the Capitol.
Mhm.
If it was an attempted overthrow, they would have brought their guns, and they didn't. So
Mhm.
this whole coup overthrow nonsense, don't come at me with that.
I'd like to hear the baby's opinion.
What do you think, Ava?
Speaking of hauling guns around, it seems like shootings are popular again.
Yeah, it's funny how that pops up when there's a pro-gun control president in the office. I'm
Yeah,
sure
they're
that's just a coincidence.
yeah, I don't know if there's more or they just push the narrative so they're all over the place. I like the one that happened yesterday in Dallas. Somebody went into a Korean salon or something and started firing up, just shooting randomly, and right away some congressperson from the left called it a white hate crime. Well, turns out the man was black and had a history of hating Asians.
Mm. That one will disappear, but you can guarantee that the black sun-wearing nut job in Buffalo, New York, is going to be front-page news for the
Yeah, I
foreseeable
should
future.
see. I bet that one's already gone off CNN. Let's see about the Dallas shooting. Yeah, it's already gone.
Yep. There's also another one that was similar in I think it was San Francisco, San Diego, some California town where I think it was a Chinese guy shot at a bunch of Taiwanese people in a church, killed
Hmm.
one, wounded 4 or 5.
I'm reminded of what movie was it that had the Korean Jesus in the church?
Uh,
21 Jump Street.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I don't. They're just popping up again. I guess that's going to be the summer narrative. They're going to try and push some gun control before they lose their majority.
Yeah, they've got to come up with something to campaign on because they can't campaign on the economy. They can't campaign on the border. They can't campaign on crime. So they have to campaign on one of their other hot button third rail topics, which is gun control. And after 2020, gun control is a losing argument unless you have a string of hyper violent, high profile mass shootings that you can blame on your political opponents and their rhetoric. And unfortunately, with a Chinese guy shooting up a Taiwanese church and a black man shooting up an Asian nail salon,
The New York subway shooter was black too.
yeah, he was a black nationalist, black separatist. And then you've got one guy who is taking the whole white replacement theory to its.
And that was just weird. This guy shows up on 4chan for a month. I think this is another FBI radicalization gone haywire.
Yeah, his manifesto was very bioluminescent. Pretty much everybody that I talk to has seen parts or all of it is like, yeah, this dude glows in the dark.
There was another glowy thing. A guy, crippling schizophrenia, lives with his parents. Somehow the FBI got his fingers into him and had him buying the materials for a bomb, loading them in a truck, going to. Did you see that story?
Is that the one where the parents were like suing the FBI or something?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one. Yep.
That's from a few years ago, but yeah. Yeah.
Just now coming to light. I mean, the FBI was everything on this one. They're the ones selling them the stuff. They're the ones telling them to do it.
Yep.
Okay, he went in a van, and I guess he went downtown to blow it up and hit the button on it, but nothing happened. Just a bunch of FBI guys came out and arrested him.
Another Gretchen Whitmer plot that.
Well, at least they figured out. At least they finally figured out that you don't actually let them build the bomb and blow it up. Now you can just give them a fake one at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
or give them a bunch of guns to take up to the top of a Las Vegas hotel. They don't have them do that anymore either.
Yeah, that's
At least they're learning and adjusting their methods to decrease the body count for their their glowy operations.
Yep. Say bye to Peanut, everybody. She left.
When are we going to see the Whitmer boys sue the FBI for entrapment? I hope they do.
I hope they do too. That would be an absolute.
We'd still like to get a hold of one of those guys and get them on here too. But I don't know if they're not allowed to talk about anything, maybe, or what.
Yeah.
AATAF always assume they're a Fed. How long have you known that baby? Long con.
Yeah. Yeah, that baby, we've got a relationship that's about 14 days old almost now.
So I suppose maybe that's going to be the theme for the summer is gun control and glowy operations.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get to see that guy's manifesto. Did you just see like an outline? Did you find it somewhere? Or?
I'll have to have the boys pull it up again. Somebody sent me a link to it's 180 pages.
Good night.
But from what I read, it's like a lot of it is him going over all of the modifications that he made to his New York State compliant AR-15 to make it more like a regular off-the-shelf AR-15 that we can buy here in America. And somebody ran his and the San Antonio guy a few years ago, and parts of his manifesto, the entire manifesto is 67% match for the San Antonio shooters a few years ago, with parts of it being 100% just direct copy paste.
So like the glowies
so either
are
this
just
is like
feeding them stuff to get them riled up on, probably.
Either that or the FBI intern isn't very creative. The guy that wrote
it. Well, this guy actually lived though, so I mean, he's going to have a court date. Hopefully, he'll talk about something. I mean, get into how he got radicalized.
You know,
it'd be interesting to hear how much.
Well, his little manifesto, he went over that he was radicalized on 4chan and 8chan and by YouTube videos. And then he went over stuff pertaining to the modifications that he made to his AR. And he went over why he chose the AR. And it's like the manifesto was so glowy because
almost a word. Somebody said almost a word for word from the New Zealand shooter in 2/3 of the paragraphs.
Yeah,
I forgot about that guy.
Yep, the Christchurch massacre guy, but the
also live streamed.
Yeah, very true. But the manifesto was so glowy because it would be almost impossible to. There's so much evidence in the manifesto that it was too obvious. You know, in our shit posters group chat, one of the guys was like, he said, like, when you're watching a crime movie and there's all of this incidental evidence surrounding the case, and it's all pointing to one guy, but then you have one cop who's like kind of paying attention. He's like, yeah, it's too much. It's too obvious. This is a frame job.
Well, and you as the person watching it know it too. It's like there's like an hour and a half left in this movie. It's not going to be this guy.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I guess I could see that. Moderate leftist authoritarian. What the fuck is that's? Somebody posted the shooter said he's a moderate leftist authoritarian.
Yes, it just goes to show how schizophrenic the guy is because there's nothing moderate about authoritarianism.
It's like a libertarian communist.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like his manifesto was full of buzzwords. It hit all of the points on the graph of the things that the Democrats want to ban. It's like Oh, I was radicalized on 4chan and 8chan, and I chose an AR-15 because it's the one that all of the other mass shooters used. And gun control, I chose to do the shooting in Buffalo, New York, because Buffalo, New York has strict gun control laws, and I knew nobody would be able to fight back. But I got my gun out of state, so we got to close that interstate loophole. And it's just like, Jesus, we need federal gun control. That's the only way that I wouldn't be able to get this gun. And it's like, Jesus Christ, man. How obvious is it?
Yeah, what did he say? He specifically went to Buffalo to shoot because they had additional laws on the books in the city or something.
Yeah, it was just like, come on, Glowboy, just when your FBI handler hands you a manuscript, proofread it.
Well, and was it a hate crime, or he just happened to pick a grocery store that had black people in it?
This was allegedly a race-related hate crime.
So he specifically scoped out a store with a lot of black people.
Yes, his whole purpose was to kill minorities. He was wearing the Black Sun patch, the squiggly line, Azov Battalion.
Wait, they're the good guys though.
No, see, they're only good guys in Ukraine.
Oh shit, I can't.
Yeah,
keep up on it.
You haven't got your 5G implant yet, have you?
Damn.
Yeah, I know.
I have to keep up on that.
But yeah, he wanted to kill minorities because he was an extreme believer in the white replacement theory.
I've been seeing that pop. The Great Replacement. That's the new buzzword among that crowd, I guess.
Right, and they're really, really going after Tucker Carlson about this because Tucker has, I guess, over the last 12 years or so, mentioned the idea of replacement theory like 400 times, and they're, again, Tucker Carlson is one of the guys that they want to silence. Whether you love him or hate him, the left would like to see him off of the air. And so Tucker actually had a really good monologue, I want to say like Monday night or something, where he was talking about how they're attacking him because of the Great Replacement thing. And one of the things that he did was like, well, here's a nice little montage of a bunch of these left-wing politicians, the president included, talking about how white demographics are on the decline and immigrant and non-white demographics are on the rise, and it's an awesome thing. So it's like the left treats the idea of the Great Replacement theory as that's not happening, but it's great that it is.
Here's the thing, though: if the replacement's going to happen, it's going to be Hispanics, just the way the numbers look, and Hispanics don't have any love for the shit the left's doing more than white people do. If anything, it's even less because, African Americans can play the race card because, well, your fucking ancestors enslaved me, blah, blah, blah. I need reparations. They try and pull that shit on Hispanics and they're just like, shut the fuck up.
Right. And that's they got some work to do in that regard, and that's part of the long game. Blacks in America were, and to a large extent are, some of the most socially conservative people in the country. The problem comes when you have left-wing identity politics over the past 60 years or so has ingrained the idea that we are a block, we are a monolith, we are always going to be kept down, and therefore we have to vote a certain way, we have to act a certain way, and we have to support the people who support us, and the way that the politicians support us is by the gives me that.
Well, and I saw something today. It showed Biden's approval ratings, and he was only above 50% with blacks and white females. I mean, Hispanics were down around like 25. They were slightly below young white males.
Mm-hmm. Right. The Hispanics in America do not have the monolithic ethnic bloc ideology pounded into them through generations the way that the American blacks have had. So they don't see that I have to do what's best for my ethnicity over what's best for me personally, or what's best for my personal beliefs, which is why you've got Cubans in Miami that overwhelmingly vote right of center or libertarian. You've got a lot of conservative Catholic Mexicans and other Central Americans in the Southwest that vote, if they vote at all, they'll vote their personal beliefs over which party is going to allow people that look like me to get into the country easier. And that, I think, is part of the long game, because if you can have an enormous number of people flood into the country, and you can tell them that the only reason that they are here is because this political party facilitated your entry into this country, when the amnesty comes, the amount of people who think that they owe one political party their citizenship are going to outnumber the socially conservative ones who would vote the other way. And that's how you attain the monolithic ethnic bloc that we see amongst African Americans today.
Well, if I've talked to many Hispanics that, they're on immigration. They're as strict as any GOP is. I mean, they're like, kick their ass out.
Oh yeah.
Shut down the border.
Well, yeah, one of the oldest cultural heroes of Mexican Americans, Cesar Chavez. One of his big things was not only stricter border controls to increase the wages of domestic Hispanics, but he would organize posses to round up illegal immigrants, beat the shit out of them, and kick them back over the Rio Grande. Because I can't speak for anybody, because I haven't had this lived experience, as the left likes to say. I'm just a honky from the Midwest. But if me or my parents or my grandparents went through the arduous process to get into this country the legal way, I would be very, very pissed off at not only the people who were trying to circumvent that system, but I would be pissed off at the politicians who were facilitating the circumvention of that system. So, yeah, it makes sense that the domestic Hispanics would be some of the most hawkish on the border out of anybody.
And that's a demographic that they kind of need. So it's looking worse and worse for the midterms the longer this is going on, for the Dems at least.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's going to be a bloodbath, I think, unless you've got either A, voter fraud that's so obvious that and at this point everybody's going to be watching for it, or B, some type of late stage October surprise comes around that's so devastating that people aren't going to have any choice but to vote Democrat, unless of course they want to vote Libertarian, in which case I'm all for. We don't have any skeletons in our closet, because we can't help but talk shit about each other online.
I think it seems like every liberty leaning type in the GOP just gets shellacked anymore. I think the time for the liberty movement, it sucks saying this is a libertarian, but it might have missed the boat at this point. Probably early 90s would have been the right area for it. Now it's just the state's too ingrained. Everything's too fucked up at this point.
Right. People are retreating into camps, and they're becoming more tribal, not necessarily in the duopoly like Republicans and Democrats, but they're becoming more tribal locally. They're becoming more tribal in an ethnic sense. They're becoming more tribal all around, community organizing, and they're retreating into their camps. And there was there was a theory that I had for the longest time that is really coming into stark focus right now, is that a lot of what the political left is doing, whether they realize it or not, is divvying people up into these, ethnic groups or nationalist groups or populist groups or ideological groups, however things get broken down, and people are going to retreat and they're going to huddle up and they're going to circle their wagons. They're going to become incredibly aggressive, defending whatever ideology or identity that they are identifying with. And the problem is that the overwhelming majority of people do not want to be pigeonholed into one identity or another. They're being forced into these identities where you have these very prominent voices are saying, things like all white people are racist and all black people are inherently oppressed or whatever. And you've got a guy, he's like, well, I'm not a racist. And they're like, yes, you are. You have it born into you. There's no way you can ever. And it's like, you know what? Gee, if you guys are just going to call me a racist, then fine. I guess I'll be a racist, because no man is an island. I'm going to find the other racists and we're going to protect each other. You see that kind of shit in prisons.
Yeah, right.
They are turning this country into an open air prison. And, I got to give props to my boy Alex Jones, when he called his original web, obviously he had InfoWars, but when he had his extra content, he put it on prisonplanet.com. Information warfare, Prison Planet. The guy's a prophet.
Rage Against the Machine. They're trying to build a prison. Wasn't that a song of theirs?
I guess I don't. I've never.
Now they're raging. Now they're raging with the machine, but
raging on behalf of the machine.
Yeah, raging on. But yeah, that's them now. Who radicalized you? Well, have you seen your own rhetoric? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We talked about this a few weeks ago, where if these people they want to ask who radicalized anybody, it's like, look in the fucking mirror. When these people they look at the soccer moms getting pissed off at the PTA meetings, or the MAGA chuds out there protesting in front of the Capitol for one reason or another, or the 50,000 people that show up on the lawn of the Virginia State House to protest pending gun control or whatever. And they look at these people and they say, oh, well, what are they doing? They're a threat to America. Motherfucker, America isn't Washington, D.C. Yeah. America is those people out there. That's America. If you want to know who radicalized these people, it's you sons of bitches. You did it. You have no one to blame for yourself. This anti-state sentiment did not form in a vacuum. You are the cause of it.
Well, and even the GOP's running out all their radical types, like Madison Cawthorn. I mean, he got ran out of office.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, and he spilled the tea. That cannot be allowed.
I'm curious what he's gonna do once he gets out of office. I hope he's been smart enough to be saving evidence of stuff.
Unfortunately, I think his wheelchair is going to slip down a flight of bullets or something.
He's going to roll down some stairs and hit a bullet.
Yep. That's unfortunately what because he must know too much and he's not afraid to talk about it. And now they took away the one thing that could get him back in line. So they're probably going to end up killing the poor kid.
And the guy that beat him is the most milquetoast party line guy. I mean, that's who wins a lot of look at the Nebraska election, for governor. People probably don't follow it, but there was a MAGA Trump guy. Mm-hmm. There was kind of a moderate liberty-leaning guy, and then there was just a milquetoast party line guy that was the most boring piece of crap you could ever talk to. Mm-hmm. And of course, he won.
Right, and that kind of that really confused me a little bit because we had Herbster, who was the Trump candidate, and by God, he let you know he was the Trump candidate at every opportunity. And then the other guy, the guy that won, Pillen, was supported by the governor. Pete Ricketts. And I'm just like,
And the state GOP establishment was all behind him too.
Right. And, you know, Nebraska is a pretty heavy Trump leaning state. So I'm wondering why the Nebraska GOP and Ricketts in particular had this hard split from the MAGA crowd. Did something happen that I wasn't aware of? Because even if Donald Trump doesn't,
well, they had that chick came out and said that Herbster touched her ass, and so they pulled out a surprise at the last moment and had this. I don't know if she got felt up by the guy or not, but this chick was appointed by Ricketts to the state legislature. Ricketts donates a bunch of money to her. Her family is friends with Ricketts' family, and surprise, it comes out she says Herbster touched her butt at an event.
Playing dirty pool. I would have thought Nebraska politics would be above that, but I guess not.
So now we've got
the wholesome Midwestern life is a lie.
Yeah. But, you know, Herbster was kind of radical. He had a bunch of radical ideas. It's like the GOP is trying to get rid of all their people that think for them. They're trying to get back to this centralization of their party, I think.
Mm-hmm. Trying to kick out the MAGA populists and get back to the Mitt Romney, John McCain.
Yeah.
The era of the losers.
Yeah.
And we're gonna lose, but we're gonna lose with dignity. It's like, okay, yeah, sure. Please fix the wall.
The Dems, I don't know what they're gonna try to get to, if they're gonna try and get back to their centrist thing. I'm not sure.
You know, they tried during the 2016 and the 2018 midterms, but I think that the communist wing is too dug in now. They don't want to split them off because they carry too much weight. And I don't know if the Republicans think that they can excise the Trump MAGA people from them without losing too much support, because I don't know. I think that the ultra left wing people have control of the Democrat Party either outright with people like AOC and her influence, or implied behind the scenes, like some of the people that pull the strings down there. And I don't know if I don't know if the Republicans have the hubris to think that they can get rid of the MAGA people and still maintain some semblance of support, or what the deal is.
Well, and I think there's no place for libertarians left in the GOP at this point. We saw, I'm using Nebraska as an example. We saw a lot of Dems come into the Nebraska Libertarian Party who just could not get on, like the whole feminist thing, where the Dems were shitting on feminists. We saw a whole lot of people come in for that. The trans thing, we saw a bunch come in for that. So I think any liberty-leaning types that were in the Democrat Party have fled at this point, and I think you're going to see the same in the GOP,
right?
And that's what's with these Mises Caucus guys showing up. For people that don't follow Libertarian Party politics, and why would you?
Value your sanity.
The Mises Caucus it seems like they're a bunch of more right-leaning libertarians that were in the GOP and have finally realized, well, can't do shit here. Let's try something else.
Right. It's like if Ron Paul hung out on 4chan a lot.
Yeah. But they're going to come over to the Libertarian Party and they're going to realize, well, we can't do shit here either. So I'm curious what.
Yeah. I don't know. It's.
I guess they found their tribe they can hang out with at that point.
Right. Sometimes you have to realize that national politics, I mean, one way or another, there's nothing that you can really do. It's going to come down to the state and the local level. And I have a hard time focusing on state and local level stuff.
Mr. Mises Caucus.
Yes, Mr. Mises Caucus. Look at me.
So, yeah, this group is all excited about getting control of the National Libertarian Party. And they're going to get in there and realize, well, that was a waste of time.
I don't know, man. With the way that the Mises Caucus has raised money, and
But you
got the
still can't do
message out
anything.
there.
Nobody gives a shit about liberty causes
Yeah.
at a national level.
Well, and maybe it's just a rare bout of optimism on my part, but once the Mises Caucus gets a somewhat major party bullhorn to shout into, maybe the brand of shit posting messaging that they're so well known for is going to be what puts it over the top. They're like,
Hmm.
hey, Democrats, you don't like the weirdos? Come to the LP. We've got the Mises Caucus. Hey,
Yeah.
Republicans, you don't like high taxes and the government being all up in your business? Come over to the LP. We've got the Mises Caucus. We've got a little bit of something for everybody over here, as long as you want to leave people alone.
The thing is that, I mean, people have a short attention span. So if they don't do something, I mean, they're going to lose a lot of their momentum.
Mm-hmm.
If they get in there, maybe Herbster wanted to legalize marijuana. Yeah. No, none of the Nebraska well, there was one that wanted medical, the liberty leaning one. But none of the other ones wanted to legalize marijuana. Even the Democrat candidate for governor doesn't want legalized medical or recreational marijuana.
God, just from an agriculture and economic standpoint, it's the stupidest position to possibly take. Especially like when all of our neighbors are legalizing it and rolling in the cash from it.
Well, get this: the Dems are running a tough on crime Democrat candidate who's against harsher penalties on a lot of things and is against legalized marijuana. That's like the most bizarre Democrat candidate I could think of.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna be tough on crime, and I'm gonna lower the crime rate by making more things illegal. I was like, okay, that's weird flex, but we'll see how that works out.
But I mean, it's such a shit Republican candidate. Maybe she's got a chance. I just don't know anymore. I can't even. Politics has just become so fucked anymore that nothing makes sense.
No, it certainly does not. Unfortunately.
But we'll have to see what shakes out. I mean, the midterms. I keep waiting. It's going to be interesting. We'll see how much this weird shit that the Dems are pushing is gonna bite them in the ass.
I don't know. We're a libertarian podcast. You and I were both Libertarian Party members. We're pretty active, all things considered. I mean, you just ran for mayor, and you did a pretty good job of it. I think that your percentages are the highest percentages of any libertarian who ever ran for anything at all.
Yeah, that's part of my. People are just so tribal, like you were saying, because there was 3 people that ran, a Republican, a Democrat, and me, and I think the vote totals ended up 50% for the Republican guy, 30 for the Democrat, and 20 for me.
Yeah, I mean, even in my race 2 years ago, it was like 73% Republican and 22% Democrat, and the Democrat was Mark Ellsworth, who was running on, I'm going to legalize pot, and that's all I care about. So for him to get 23% of the vote with just that platform tells me that the 23% of the people who voted for him had no idea who he was, and they were just checking the D box.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's saying it'll probably be even worse this midterm.
Yeah, you just vote for your team, I guess. That's cool. Whatever.
And like I was about to say, we're libertarians. We're active in the party and in the politics and everything. But I make no secret about it that I'm right of center.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty right of center, and I think that this 2022 midterm is going to be an absolute bloodbath. And my Schadenfreude is already warming up.
I was pretty solid in the center. I get pushed further right every week by all the dumb shit going on.
Yeah.
You just can't even understand.
It's like, is the Overton window shifting, or am I getting worse?
Yeah, like Elon. Oh, we didn't even talk about that. How Elon came out as a Republican, and now all of a sudden there's a sex scandal.
Guys, you fucking one-trick ponies.
Those sex scandals, they'll get you every time.
Yes, influencer with millions of followers comes out as a Republican, and SpongeBob, the old reliable sex scandal.
What was it? She said he paid her $250,000 to keep quiet about it. Well, give that money back first thing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that hush money comes with an NDA when you're dealing with a guy with Asperger's syndrome.
Yeah, I can't imagine that he slapped somebody on the ass and just said, "Here's a check for $250K. Keep quiet." There's going to be something. If it's true, there's going to be something signed somewhere.
Gosh, if that's all it takes to get 250 grand, you're going to see me in a pair of hot pants and a bustier dancing around Elon Musk, just hoping he can cop a feel.
hoping he brushes against you. Oh, I
Yep.
feel so assaulted.
Like, sexual harassment, dude. What are you doing? It's ma'am. I think we're going to add transphobia onto your misogyny and your... Yeah, oh, God, I can't even fucking... Ugh, I feel dirty now.
I know. That's the worst part, is that following the left, you're able to switch to their language and just do all that twisting shit. Makes you feel dirty when you do it, though.
Well, not only that, but what I just did there is 100% plausible.
Right.
It's not even plausible. It's par for course now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's It's
well, at least you have an opinion on abortion now. We got that going for us. We can have an opinion on abortion.
Right.
So if you and Angela decided, are you getting pregnant next, or is it still going to be her?
Well, see, even if I identify as a woman going forward, I'm not a birthing person.
That's right. You got to be a birthing person.
Yes, you have to be a birthing person. It's not enough to identify as a woman, because men can get pregnant if they're a birthing person. Women cannot get pregnant if they're not a birthing person. And words just mean whatever we want them to now. Look at me. I'm the Oxford English Dictionary. I set the rules. Oh, man.
So how does that work where that person, Democrat spokesperson, was able to identify what a man is, where the Supreme Court nominee said they weren't so was this person a biologist?
See, that was last week's firmware update. We're running on the new 25.2.75 alpha OS now.
They uploaded the biology knowledge.
Right. You got to go and stand next to a 5G tower and get your update.
So where the other person could not identify what a woman was, this one can identify what a man. Maybe this one couldn't identify what a woman is either, because they just said a man can get pregnant.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't make the rules. I can barely follow the rules. Do so much crime, it'll be boring and you'll stop doing crime. Yeah, maybe that is the Democrats' strategy on crime. Just let them do so much crime that they get bored with doing crime and they stop doing crime. Yeah. I don't think that's how it works.
Yeah, I mean the crime is getting terrible in some of these cities. They just don't seem to care. I mean, a lot of libertarians are all cops are bastards, but people that live in a city would prefer not to get stabbed or step in shit on their way to where they're going, I'm sure.
Well, that makes you a privileged bigot.
And shit, the UFOs. We didn't even talk about that.
I don't know anything about it. So
they said there's UFOs. And they were they one of the things that I thought was interesting was they just said, well, yeah, they're UFOs and we've never tried talking to them yet, but we should. Like, what? What? So I don't know what about the UFOs. What do you do with that when the government says, yeah, there's UFOs out there?
I'm gonna call. Well, I'm gonna say that not all UFOs are aliens, and I'm willing to bet that like probably 99%.
Well, no, some of them they actually said that. They're like, well, I mean, this could be explained by some more advanced technology, and then other ones that are like shooting at Mach 8 and stopping on a dime and then going another direction. They're like, oh, we don't have any idea how it's doing that. That's weird.
Yeah.
We should try talking to him, maybe.
It's like we got your radio transmissions of old 60s sitcoms that have finally beamed to our planet. We want to see what's up.
And there was still a lot redacted. Like they've seen so many of some of these UFOs that they've classified them by their type, and there's variations in the different types of the UFOs that they're seeing.
Yeah. I'm of the mind that if a civilization exists that has the technological capacity to cross the vast distances between stars and get to this planet, we would not see them unless they wanted us to see them. That's what I think about it. So either these UFOs are not like chance, like pilot flying around in a noisy F-16 on a test flight sees a UFO off in the distance and the alien's just like asleep at the wheel on autopilot and like, oh shit, the human saw me. No, if these are an extraterrestrial life form, they're being seen because they want to be seen.
Well, like the comment, we haven't tried communicating with them. Does that mean that these UFOs are like flashing their lights at them and dipping their wings, and they're just like,
don't transmit in that thing's direction? What?
I need to go. I just saw some snippets. I need to go watch the full report of that just because it seems so interesting.
Yeah, but then again, it might also just be a distraction. There's lots of unexplained things out there, tricks of the eye, advanced technology that our government and other governments around the world just don't want to reveal that we are capable of doing yet. All of this stuff, and it could be like, hey, you know what? There's a whole lot of nonsense going on in the world, and we look like idiots. Let's release the aliens.
They're flashing high beams. Space cops. Yeah, I wish the space cops would come down and arrest some people. But we're hitting on our hour. Yep. We'll be back again next week. I think we're done with baby breaks. I don't know. It's getting to be summer. We might switch to bi-weekly because a lot of stuff going on.
Yep.
We'll see how it works out. We'll let you guys know on the Facebook page, though.
Yep.
But thanks for listening to us. You know where all the socials are. Just look for Roads and Number 2 Liberty. We're on Instagram, YouTube. Find us on Facebook. We were on Facebook for a little bit tonight. I see we had some people jump in, and about half an hour in, it said we were shut down for TOS on something. And I know it wasn't. We thought maybe it's the intro music. That was royalty-free intro music. So I don't know what. I can't figure out what the no words are for getting the shutdown on Facebook.
We were talking about election fraud, so
I think I said stop the steal. Maybe that did us in. So yeah, follow us on YouTube if you're watching us from Facebook, because we never know when we're gonna get our asses kicked off of there. We're hoping to get back on Twitter when Lord Elon takes over. See you next week.
Buy our shit.